All right, so we're glad to be joined by St. Mary's players Luke Barrett, Augustas Marciulionis, and Mitchell Saxen. You guys are coming off, obviously, winning the WCC regular season championship. You guys were the tournament champions a year ago. We're a 5 seed for the third straight year. Going into this season, obviously there were a lot of changes in the offseason with player movement and whatnot. What is kind of like the vibe going into this season? Because watching you guys the other day, it definitely looked different than what we've seen in recent years, but just as good, just as efficient as you guys have been in the past.
I'd say it's a different group of guys, but the vibe is the same of just trying to be as good as we can be, you know? And I'd like to give you some sort of like secret formula for our program, but it's really just trying to be the best we can every day and get better every day. Whether that's here in October or in the middle of January in the dog days of the season, like we just want to maximize our talent and maximize where we can get to as a team and build our habits right now so to be really good this year.
I can say also the one thing that's different being here for 5 years, I think there's been years where there's 1 year where we returned every single player and we didn't have anybody different. We had Goose coming in, but Goose and a couple other guys, but then last year felt pretty similar from the year before. There's definitely a feeling of like uncertainty that's more actually of like excitement of guys stepping into new roles and bigger roles. So you're kind of having, I think these practices are more and more important because you're having to figure that out, figure out how to play with different guys and who's getting shots where and stuff like that. So that's pretty exciting right now.
That's a perfect segue into kind of what I wanted to ask about. Obviously, transfer portal has been around for a couple of years now, but hadn't dramatically impacted this program until this last offseason. Two really key players out the door, and this is a program that has historically had guys step up into bigger roles and thrive, and that's something that's been a hallmark of Randy Bennett's teams for decades. And now, I mean, it's as important as it's ever been with some key guys out the door. Who are some guys, or how has that process kind of gone in practices in terms of getting guys to step up, whether it's guys who are already starters or guys who are reserves or even new guys coming into the system to kind of step up and fill the gaps with guys like Jefferson and Mahaney out the door?
Yeah, so I would say, just like Luke said, like this year feels a little different. We had some important pieces coming in from portal, some freshman guys that are going to play important roles. So I feel in a way like this offseason was a little different, but I think we have really good talent. I mean, we have Jordan, who is ready to make that next step, and he's been in the program for a year and a half by now. Then like Polis, he is like really talented player. There's no other way to say it. So we're just like, our job is to make sure like those guys are like learning the stuff that like our system and how we guard, how we play on offense, and make sure there's no everybody plays for the team success. So I feel like, yeah, like our job is to like make sure like everybody's on the same page. But I feel like we really have some really good pieces, and yeah, I'm excited for those guys to step in their new roles.
I mean, watching you guys the other night is like, yeah, you have a lot of guys stepping into new roles, and actually one of the guys stepping into a larger role, Luke, like I was actually really impressed watching you play the other night, and just talking about like just what's the different feeling for you going into this season, because it seems that like now everything's starting to click all at the same time. You always had this kind of like role of being like doing a lot of the dirty work, but now we've got to see glimpses of it a year ago of the offensive game you can have, and now look like it's kind of starting to all come together for you.
Yeah, I think I've always just tried to do what I was asked to do, and yeah, like you said, it's been being kind of a glue guy and a hustle guy, and offenses came in certain games. I feel like I've grown over the years, but yeah, this is a year where obviously just it's pretty simple that Dukas went and he's on to his next journey now, and I've learned a lot from him on like how to fit in the offense at that position. And I mean, I think I've seen it with guys, like it has to happen first in the off season to open gyms, and I think I've become a good scorer in those settings, and then just been listening to my coaches for years on how I can make myself more efficient and how I can make the game slow down. So I think it feels like it really is slowing down, and I can try to step into more of a scoring role this year.
two new teams joining the WCC this year, Washington State and Oregon State. Obviously, two programs that are big schools, have had success in basketball in recent history for Washington State in particular, and obviously just adds more games to the conference, adds more quality opponents, adds to fun new places to play in Corvallis and Pullman. Like, what are the things that you guys are excited about getting an opportunity to play those two teams?
Just chance to play some new blood.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, it can get a little boring playing like in an empty gym in San Diego in the middle of January. So just getting the opportunity to play new guys like that in programs that hopefully have like a good level of resources behind them and are good this year. Because it's always better to have a more competitive conference.
So we saw the WCC poll come out, and Gonzaga was sitting at the top of the coaches poll. You guys are the defending champions. You guys are the tournament champions. When you see something like that, and obviously we know Gonzaga brought a lot of their pieces back. They added some really nice pieces as well. When you see something like that, what is, for you guys who are the defending champs, what sort of motivation does that give you as a team, or like does that even factor in as far as like as your prep and everything else when you see something like that?
I mean, honestly, like we we don't really care about those things. Like, just to put it like really shortly, I mean, I understand why Gonzaga, and it makes sense. They bring like all the best players back. They have some new additions in the portal. Like, ours is like a little, like, people don't know how good Ross can be, how good Polis can be, and it's fine. But at the end of the day, we're just focusing on the next practice that we're gonna have on Friday, our next scrimmage, and like that's the way we're thinking, and that's what we're focusing on. So like we see those things, but we don't get hurt by it. We don't get excited about it. It's just like you just see it, and then you go on with your day, with your practice, with whatever is next for you.
You go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say, I would say same thing. But if we're at a place where we're needing stuff like that for motivation, then we're already behind the eight ball a little bit. And honestly, I don't think I've seen that yet. And we don't really talk about it at all. And we might bring it up once before the year, but like the main thing we talk about is, like you said, like that stuff doesn't matter. Like I think we might have been picked last year up first maybe, but we said like, well, we still have to play all the games. We haven't done anything this year. Like when you get preseason honors like that, you literally means nothing. So yeah.
You guys talked about Jordan a handful of times, but are there other completely new players to the team that you guys have seen in practices and in the scrimmages that you think are primed to step in and have a really big role and contribute to this team this upcoming season?
I think it's always kind of hard to tell right now. I think all the freshmen have impressed me, and all of them are in a pretty fierce battle right now. All of them knowing like there's playing time to be taken, but none of them have anything guaranteed. So I think down across the line, Mikey, Liam, Den, Oliver, like Ashton, they've all been going hard. They've all been showing flashes, and you really couldn't say who's going to be. I think they'll all help us this year, but you couldn't say like by the end of the year who's going to be in the rotation. It's hard to say.
How does Randy with freshmen or with new guys coming in? What is his kind of philosophy in terms of, like you mentioned, earning playing time? Like it's obviously never guaranteed, but how does he kind of treat new guys into that system and into the program? And obviously for you guys as veterans, in terms of welcoming everybody in and kind of getting everybody up to speed, like what's that process like? And obviously you had plenty of success with it with this group in particular.
I mean, I think he holds them to the same standard that he holds older guys. And what he's really been hammering recently is like to crack into the rotation, you have to be good on D, and like that's going to be the identity that's going to get you in the rotation. And I mean, there's not really sugarcoating that. Like to play college basketball at the D1 level, like and fit in. We have a lot of freshmen that are really good at scoring, but like that's not going to be your role necessarily right away, unless you're like prolific at that, you know. So we've got some dudes that can come in and contribute offensively, but it's going to be like who is most solid and fits in on D probably that will garner the most playing time early on and help the most.
All right. If I remember correctly, you've had the conversation. You guys are roommates, suite mates.
Yeah.
Who's the best cook and who shouldn't be nowhere near the kitchen?
It's a softball question, man.
I'm just gonna, like, they're gonna say that I shouldn't be nowhere near the kitchen, so I'm just gonna admit that myself, or they have time to bully me for that. But yeah, those two guys are pretty good in the kitchen. They're always cooking, and I'm just like I don't know. Like, maybe you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a fun journey. I feel like I can kind of be his mentor. I don't think I've made or even like bought into anything that he's not asked what is that. Like he just doesn't. He has no awareness. Like I think I boiled pasta one time and just put butter and cheese on it, and he was like, "How'd you do that? Like how do you?" And like that's. I mean, that's what happened. So, I mean, he's growing. I think I'm expanding his food horizons a little bit. But no, it's been a fun time in that apartment. It's been the best living situation we've had so far, I think.
How much does that help? I mean, obviously, you guys have all played together for a handful of years, but living together and being guys who've been in this system for so long, a system that is unique in the college basketball space. You know, not a lot of teams do what St. Mary's and Coach Bennett does. So for you guys to have so much familiarity now with that system, we kind of talked about, you know, educating the younger guys, but how much does it just help in terms of getting you ready for the year? I mean, you have so many guys who aren't having to learn this defensive scheme and the pace and things like that. I mean, does it feel like that sets you up for success, particularly early in the season when a lot of the teams you're playing in this era have 4, 5, 6 new players on the roster? It feels like that gives a nice advantage, especially early.
I feel like as far as us being in the system a while and especially living together and just having like the level of familiarity that we do have, like we all know we're going to bring it every day in practice, and we all know we're going to be there for each other. So we can kind of emanate that to the rest of the team a little and just be that rock every day as leaders and sort of as a cohort of veteran guys that can just show the younger guys like what it takes kind of. And I think we've done it before. Obviously, we won the league before, and we knew how hard that was. So we're just trying to transmit that every day to the younger guys, like how really hard it is to go and do it, and how nothing's guaranteed.
Thank you guys so much. I think that's good. Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah. Good luck this year, guys.